Welcome to FreeMMOStation. I'm Skylar Shore, and today we're going to do a first impression look at a new old-school sandbox MMORPG, Linkrealms.
FreeMMOStation.com.
So starting out, let me say that this isn't a first impression, and that means that for sandbox MMOs specifically, it's kind of hard to get into the games, you know, so I can't do like a full review instantaneously. Like, I played 30 minutes into the game, but I can give you an overview of some of the features. I can tell you my thoughts and opinions on like the user experience so far, the UI, the graphics, and you know, just kind of give you my assumptions of what the end game is probably like, or where this game is probably going, and who it's probably marketed toward. But that's a whole lot of probablys. So keep that in mind. And I do want to say one thing, my bias coming into this, Linkrealms is focused on like classic gameplay of like older action RPGs. Now, when I was little, I really liked this game called Gore Soul. I don't know if you guys played that, or maybe you guys played like Baldur's Gate or like older Diablos. There's a lot of really old school action RPGs popping up right now, but not too many old school action RPG slash MMOs that are doing it in the vein that Linkrealms is doing it. Now, I do know there's Wild Terra, which is not absolutely is not an RPG, it's just a sandbox MMO, and it's not free to play as well. There's Albion Online in the vein of Ultima Online, but Linkrealms to me really is making me feel like it's an action RPG. There's so many RPG elements to this, and you'd think in MMORPGs you'd have more RPG elements, but a lot of games really kind of like do away with those elements, and they just kind of focus on the MMO aspect. But Linkrealms really makes me think that they've tried to bring all the like the magic. They tried to bring all those really awesome features that we like about old school action RPGs, and then brought it into, well, not really modern times, because as you can see, it looks very classic. But, you know, they update, you know, some ideas, some concepts, but for the most part, for better or worse, they try to keep what made those older games kind of like magical, and they brought it to us here in an MMO format. And it is an MMO, as in like, okay, it's kind of hard to explain. It is open world, but it's like Albion Online in the sense where everything is instanced off. So it's not like you can just walk forever and ever without a loading screen. You are going to have some loading screens. There are different areas, but I guess it's kind of like Guild Wars 2 in a sense where like, yeah, everything is instanced, but it's mostly open world. You know what I'm saying? It's open world instance anyways. So yeah, it's not instance out probably like what you come to expect with like Path of Exile or Diablo 3. It's not really an online action RPG. It really does feel like an MMO, and that's kind of what they want to go for with the name called Linkrealms. Another reason why it's called Linkrealms is you do actually have, I think this is a cool feature, I think more games should do player housing, but yeah, you have player housing. It's more than just like housing though. You can actually have like a guild plot, guild island kind of thing going on. I do believe that is instance though. This is probably the one area that is completely instance, but for the most part, the rest of the game plays open world. In fact, if you watch the trailer, there's one part where one character is talking about how he can actually go into a dungeon and steal the loot from a raiding party who just killed the end dungeon boss. So yeah, it seems like even dungeons, pretty much everything is open world, and there's no loot claiming. So it's a very hardcore, anti-Care Bear, classic action RPG. With that in mind, it's going to alienate a huge amount of people. It really is, but at the same time, we actually do see a couple of games somewhat in this vein, or at least aiming at the same niche, the same audience. So there was one called like RPG MMORPG or RPGMO or something like that. Super classic, very dated design, incredibly retro, super pixely. This one, it really focuses on the aesthetic a lot of older action RPGs versus older MMOs, because older MMOs weren't very fun, but older action RPGs, dude, even now, even with their dated graphics, there's like certain like art. And honestly, I'm gonna keep saying it, but I'm gonna say it one more time, that there's a magic to the aesthetic, the gameplay, for better or worse. There's just something special with older action RPGs, and that's what Linkrealms is doing. So it kind of reminds me of what's happening right now in the whole MMO space, where we see a lot more sandbox games coming out, we see a lot more hardcore games coming out, and we see a lot of retro games coming out. And so this one is a throwback, but I really am glad that it's not just a normal action RPG or online action RPG. So yeah, it is a hardcore game. Okay, so I was actually gonna go on a tangent about the multiplayer, but let me just talk about the PvE real freaking quick here, guys. So this game is gonna be a hardcore PvP open game, but there's also PvE and it's really, really hardcore. It's really intense. Now, normally, I'm pretty mechanical. I play MOBAs competitively. I have a lot of fun with, top-down games, and in general, action RPGs, MOBA, whatever, RTSs. So coming into Linkrealms, I was surprised to see how intense the game was. Now, I'm not saying that it was clunky or anything, but for better or for worse, the isometric 2D / whatever thing they got going on here, it does kind of make it a little bit weird to move around. I mean, it's not perfect like a 3D physics-based game, of course, but it actually did respond really well, and that's not why I died. For it's not the engine or anything, it's not awkwardness of the game. It was just that it was like really hard. You have to think, you got to use your brain. What resources you're going into a fight. Kind of like RuneScape, you have consumables that can heal you, so you got to think about that. You got to think about what spells you're going to use in what order, because it's like super dire. Like, you need to know coming into this if you might accidentally pull a ghost or two, and because of the camera angles, again, for better or for worse, the camera angles can hide things, so you have to take that into account whenever you're going into a certain hallway or something like that. It can be annoying, but at the same time, it's kind of a mechanical element, like it's kind of part of the gameplay. So for new players who don't or have not ever experienced an RPG, a classic RPG like this, then it might be a little bit weird. And you're definitely going to need someone older or somebody who did play these kind of games to kind of help you out. I definitely think so. And then, of course, pile on all the other hardcore multiplayer elements, like if you die, people can take your stuff. There are different areas, just like Albion Online has, where there are safe zones, and then there are like straight up not safe zones. I think there's like some in-between zones, but yeah, okay, so there is a little bit of pacing with the game, but very, very little. You start the game, you go through a really quick tutorial, it's kind of awkward, but you pretty much jump into this game and you're just thrown to the wolves, and that's fine. I mean, it's a sandbox game, that's fine. I'm just saying, if you haven't ever experienced a classic RPG, I don't know how you are going to enjoy this game. I really don't. It's weird. It really is. But if you do have a little bit of a nostalgic remembrance of this genre, well, really, this is kind of a new genre because it's brought to the MMO space. But if you remember older action RPGs and you thought, man, it would be so cool to play with a bunch of people, have guilds and stuff like that, well, then that's Linkrealms, dream come true. And I do like the art. If you look at the background, the art looks good. The UI is pretty cool. Now, like, let me say, normally, if a game looked like this and came out in modern times and had the UI that it does, I would honestly shit on it. I would say it's worthless. And at first glance, I really thought this game was absolutely worthless until I played it. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's the point. The point of the game is to look old, because that's its thing. It's kind of like when some retro games, they look pixel arted, but like, it still can look good, pixel art. Well, I'm saying right now that it looks good. For what it's trying to do, it still looks good. It's decent. And it definitely reminds me of, like, some games in the 90s. The website even looks like it's from the 90s. The art, everything about the game just looks like it's just perfectly nostalgic. And so even though I'm not a huge fan of that genre, of that aesthetic, of that niche, I still actually, it still kind of connected with me, and I played a little bit longer than I normally would have, and that's why I didn't want to do a live first impression, because my live first impression kind of stunk. And then 30 minutes in, right at the 30-minute mark, I was like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get it. Yeah, I'm feeling this. And yeah, I just want to give you guys the same advice. Give this game a chance, really sink some time into this, at least 30 minutes like I did, get to the 30-minute mark and then, see how you feel about it. And try to play with people. It's an MMO. But yeah, the action RPG aspect of it is pretty good. It's pretty hardcore. I didn't get to fight any bosses or anything like that, so I don't know if there's any crazy mechanics in that sense. I just kind of fought wilderness and freaking zombies and ghosts and stuff, but it was pretty hardcore. I did enjoy it. I liked how I was able to run. You're pretty fast in this game, actually. Now, you can run pretty fast, and you can... I don't know if there's actually physics blocking. I don't remember checking that. Probably should have checked that. And there are areas where there's like tons and tons of zombies and stuff, and there's just like hordes of monsters, and at the very beginning of the game, you don't have like tons of AoE yet, so it's pretty treacherous. It's pretty scary, honestly. I would consider it like a horror experience, like, especially if you're gonna lose everything. So I like that kind of stuff. I like difficulty, and it was difficult in good ways, though I didn't do any dungeons, so, I'm sorry about that, guys, first impressions. But I imagine it's probably very similar to a lot of older games. Pretty much everything about this game, I'm trying to just assume it probably is just like older games, but in an MMO space. I didn't get to do any PvP. I did see some players running around, but I imagine later on PvP could be really exciting. I know in Wild Terra it's pretty cool, in Albion Online it's freaking amazing, phenomenal. I don't think Linkrealms has anything like Albion Online has, like with duels or with the structured PvP 5v5. I think it's just straight up old school, open world, hardcore, let's go. Now, I think people who like this game would have played Ultima Online, or maybe you're looking forward to Wild Terra or Albion Online. You might be looking forward to games like that. Linkrealms, I think, fits right in there. But do remember, RuneScape is also getting a remix and actually has some branch out games called Darkscape, you know, coming out. So there's actually a couple of games coming out in this space. But Linkrealms overall is the one that's probably the most nostalgic, and at the same time, is actually, I mean, even though it's kind of taken some older mechanics and everything, it actually feels kind of new. Okay, so let's dive, you know what, let's freaking dive into this and let's talk about what makes Linkrealms kind of special. And this is really, when I was talking about things for better or for worse, this is the section where we're gonna really be talking about it and digging into it. Okay, so RuneScape is nostalgic for a lot of players, but that's an MMO. Linkrealms is really like an RPG, okay? So an RPG, classic RPGs had really weird inventory systems, like they were really freaking creative. And okay, like, let's see, Path of Exile, right? As an RPG that has a weird inventory system, you actually rearrange items so that they kind of fit, almost like Tetris style. In Linkrealms, you actually have like a bag and you can organize things. Like it can get really messy and cluttered. Now, previously I said that I actually like the UI, and this is kind of why. Even though the UI is super clunky and hard to use, okay, that's kind of part of the game. So that your bag, your initial bag that you have, is actually super cluttered and messy. And you yourself, as the player, you have to customize it, you have to clean it out, rearrange it, and then, which is really cool, you actually have, like in World of Warcraft or something, you have multiple bag slots, and you just click it, opens a bag. In this game, your bags actually exist within other bags, so you have to open up those bags, rearrange them, hold them out on the screen, and you have to actually clean it up, and it's just freaking cool, man. It's something that normally in a game, I would say it's shit, but for some reason, it just works in Linkrealms, because, I don't know, it's magic, and I think they captured the magic of older RPGs. Let me just say one more time. Okay, and then another thing, whenever you are killing something, you kill something and you loot its body, there's actually this really cool graphic of you looting the body. It's just like this, it's like hollowed out corpse or something, and then you actually drag and drop the items from the corpse and put it into your bag. I just think that's a really cool effect. I remember Mortal Online showing off stuff like that. Mortal Online was supposed to be something similar, like, you know, hardcore MMO, and then it's just kind of okay right now. Linkrealms, though, is I like it. I really like its hardcore mechanics. It doesn't seem thrown in there. It seems like it's actually appropriate and it works. And this is my bias. I came in this not wanting to like this game. So, me saying that. And I'm normally really harsh about the UI and everything like that. Now, I can say that combat is kind of weird, at least in the beginning, but the point of Linkrealms is that there is a severe amount of upgrading happening whenever you level up. So as a noob, you're supposed to feel like basically worthless. It's not like Guild Wars where you jump in and you have these huge Kamehamehas. No, Linkrealms, you're basically a normal plebe, like you're nothing. And then you level up and then you get crazy abilities, which you can see in the trailers and some of the gameplay around. But as a new player, you are going to feel like shit, and the game's going to be clunky, and it's going to be awkward, and the graphics are going to be kind of weird and harsh on your eyeballs. But then once you actually delve into the game, once you get used to that aesthetic, and once you kind of just, you know, once you fall into the world, everything starts to make sense. It's just kind of like awkward and niche, and yeah, so if you're nostalgic, you're going to love this game. If you're not, it might be hard to get into it. I'll admit it. So, Linkrealms, what do I think about the map editor? I mean, it's called Linkrealms, right? What do I think about the map editor? Well, it's kind of, again, it's hard to use, it's weird, it looks really old school, but it is functional. Like, you can do a whole lot with this map editor, and I normally love map editors. I mean, I was a huge contender with Far Cry, even the competitive map making in Far Cry, Halo Forge. I was so into Halo Forge. Pretty much any game that has custom maps or anything where I can actually make stuff, that's my thing. That's my thing. So, Linkrealms, the fact that they have it is cool, but the fact that it's also pretty in-depth is also very intriguing. I have no idea what the extent of the map editor is. I don't know what you can do. I know in the trailer it said that there can be like guild items that maybe guild people can use for crafting and stuff like that, like a farm, I think. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you can have like your treasure trove in there, but I'm not really sure how players, like PvP players or your other friends, truly interact with it. But I do know that it does exist, and there is quite an extent of customization that can happen with this, but I don't really know how it all fits in. You know, it's first impressions. I don't really know how it all works. But then again, a lot of the sandbox MMOs, you don't really get to build stuff until much, much later on. Like, I don't think I've shown off building houses in Albion Online yet, or even Wild Terra. I haven't made anything. It's just how it is. There's a whole lot to these games that I can't show you. But that's kind of like part of the mystery and stuff, you know? It's like every part of this game is actually really hard to get into, but once you explore it, and especially if you're exploring it with friends, it's like truly discovery, and it feels like adventure, and that's cool. It's just kind of hard to show, you know, content on YouTube of that kind of stuff, especially a niche game like this that looks like the way it does and plays the way it does. Now, I guess before I end the video of my vague rantings on Linkrealms, I guess I'll talk about some things that I really didn't like. Okay, so the character creator. Let's talk about the character creator. It's bad. It's not good. I'm not saying the art style is bad, because you can get used to the art style. You can maybe even love the art style, like I said, with somebody who is very nostalgic. But I don't think there's really that many options at the beginning. Now, there's probably more options later on, especially with the item shop. I have no idea how that truly works. But at the very beginning, it looks pretty awkward. Not only that, but it's not full screen or anything, so it's like weird. It's not only is it not full screen, but it's like super small. There's just nothing to the character creator whatsoever. I just took whatever was the default very beginning thing, and I don't think there's really, like, you don't have classes, okay? So you don't really get an explanation with how the game is played. Like, you don't know what potential abilities are in the game. Normally classes, even though they are very restricting, at the same time for new players, they kind of reveal what the game's potential is instantaneously. So for sandbox games, it's kind of hard for people to get in and realize, like, what a mage could do potentially. Like, maybe a mage is really boring, or maybe a mage is like super extreme AoE explosions and summoning demons from the sky or something like that. But we don't know. It's not like there's a necromancer or a frost mage, class. So you start out, you get a sword, you get a wand, which kind of teleports you, and then you get a staff, and that's pretty much it. Now there is crafting and everything. That's pretty cool, I guess. But again, at the very beginning of the game, especially in a game this niche, I have no idea how the economy is going to work. I didn't even get to see really the economy, and I know that though you can actually craft and sustain yourself and probably your guildmates. That's probably how the game is supposed to be used, but I did not check or even really I don't think I had the opportunity really to see the economy. In Albion Online, that's like thrown right into your face. That's the first thing you see is the auction house. In this game, I don't know if there is actually an auction house. Now, oh no, but there is this really cool mechanic. There is this cool mechanic, which is, again, very reminiscent of single-player action RPGs, and you can actually haggle and with the different people that you could buy things from, with the different shops, and I don't know, that's just pretty cool. You can sell things to them, and you can haggle with them, and yeah, that's just, I don't know, it makes me giddy, I guess. It's pretty cool. It's making me very unprofessional, but Linkrealms is like an old-school single-player action RPG, but it's set in an MMO world, and instead of sacrificing the action RPG or the RPG elements for the MMO part of MMORPG, they decided just no, they're gonna keep the RPG elements and they're gonna sacrifice the MMO parts. Yet it's not completely instanced, which is freaking great. I've never played Ultima Online, but maybe Linkrealms is similar to it. And I think maybe a lot of people really want that. I know Albion Online on the forums, Wild Terra even, and all these other sandbox, MMORPG, people are like, you know what, Ultima Online was the best. And I think people are still very nostalgic for it. So maybe they'll like Linkrealms, maybe not. I don't know, I'm on the fence. I think it's pretty cool, but we'll have to see what the end game is like and stuff like that, and maybe I'll play. Maybe I'll get some friends on. Maybe I'll play with you guys. My name's Skylant, by the way, if you guys wanna. No, like, I mean, my name's Skylant, but my in-game name is also Skylant. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I'll play with you guys if you add me. So thanks for watching. I'm Skylant, and I guess like and subscribe to FreeMMOStation if you want news on free MMOs and stuff like that. Yeah, and we'll see you again next time.